Diehl, and Mike is a political activist, and he's really very involved with the Berkeley community. Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
All right.
Can you kind of? I remember when you hung out at Gilman Street, actually.
Yeah, that was kind of me getting involved with politics again, because to me, going back to what punk was about, because I was a punk in the 70s, and to me, part of the starting of Gilman Street was political, and I wanted to get it being back a collective. And that was around the time the whole '91 volleyball court stuff came in. And I was also involved with the Free Clinic, and some of the people from the Free Clinic were coming in here, because Free Clinic started from '69, the People's Park, right? So some of our medics were going down there with the Red Crosses. I remember watching it on the TV, watching some of my fellow clinic workers getting beat up by the cops, so it felt like the clinic was just to show solidarity with my fellow workers there. And plus at Gilman Street there were people like there, and I was doing flyers, you know, commenting on it. And I ran in, I got to know Terry Compost. She's pretty much the one that really got me involved with the park, because I thought she was really cool.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So, and I knew she was involved with the park, so, because I kind of stayed away for a while, because the first times they come in here, because I used to do cocaine, and there was like the crack, I could smell it, you know.
Yeah,
so I stayed away from it. And I noticed some of the skinheads that we kicked out of Gilman, you know, we had a battle with the right-wing skinheads were moving over here, which I didn't like seeing. I wanted them just out of Berkeley altogether.
Yeah, off the planet would be fine with me.
Yeah, just...
Maybe you can talk a little bit about the activism regarding the volleyball courts here in the park. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we're looking pretty much at where the volleyball courts were.
Yeah, they went through this whole big to-do, brought in police from all over the state, spent $1 million in police thing to build this volleyball court that a lot of people here actively opposed. There was a pretty unified movement to stop it, but the university went ahead and they fenced it off and they built this thing and they beat up a lot of people, which is what I was watching kind of from the sidelines, because I had a responsibility of keeping Gilman Street going, and the Free Clinic was really depending on me. So, but I wanted to show support. But that was pretty much like, that's it, I'm gonna get more involved politically. You know, plus, you know, reviving the collectivity from at Gilman Street and get Free Clinic being collective, that kind of, because I hadn't been really political up till, you know, I'd been political when I was young. But you know, I got more into like yoga and magic and stuff like that. But part of my vision was to get back political anyways. I felt like that was what I needed to do. I mean, the angels said, "Well, why am I here?" She said, "Well, you got to get involved, get out there and do some stuff." So, yeah. So, and then a little bit after that happened, they had this anti-panhandling law. That was the street collections program. So I got real involved with that because it was going to affect the street collections program. But and as somebody had been homeless, it was a way to like, aha, I'm in the right place at the right time to deal with some of my anger about being homeless in this country, with, you know, with all this affluence around. And the left had been pretty shattered by the volleyball court stuff. There was a lot of internal division, you know, the CONTRAPRO stuff where they divide people. That was a pretty new face. So I could kind of come in, and because I was a peer counselor, I also knew how to bring people together. So suddenly I kind of emerged as like an important figure. And then the Free Clinic, we went to federal court with the ACLU and beat the city of Berkeley on their Measure O, the anti-homeless law. So that really identified me to the people on the streets, you know. Plus I was the person they would go to when they needed to find a drop-in counselor and feeling suicidal at the end of the rope. So suddenly I came, you know, yeah, because that's the main thing I identify for is people on the streets. You know, haven't been on the streets myself, and that was kind of like, so that really made me like suddenly like, you know, I've been involved with, you know, the park and stuff like that. I would say like the urban gardening stuff. I mean, I grew up in New Hampshire in the woods when I was a kid, and I did gardening then. So I think it's a good thing. I kind of started paying attention when, you know, during the whole Y2K thing, when we were worried that everything was going to go down and what would that mean. So I got involved in this thing called the Y2K Resiliency Network. You know, and I remember PG&E saying they didn't know whether they were going to, you know, get through this computer glitch and keep the power on. I said, well, that's fairly serious if the power goes down. So there was a lot of people involved with that. We're looking at, we need to start encouraging people to start growing food. And I was also looking at a way, trying to get, you know, to make people see that, like, things like groups like Food Not Bombs, or just homeless people in general. Things went down, they knew how to prepare food for people. They also knew how to help people. Urban campers, that's the term we're using. It's like, it's actually a skill, you know, how to survive when everything goes down, you know. Which, you know, eventually it turned out the Y2K thing wasn't too big of a thing. But, you know, we're still in an earthquake zone, and the big one could still, of course, with the whole tree sit thing. And they insist on wanting to build this memorial stadium over there.
Yeah, it's really stupid to put a stadium on top of an active fault, you know.
Yeah, we call it the crack of doom. One of the homeless guys, he took this die where the crack is, and he shook it, and he said the cast has been dyed. Because I think they're asking for it by building it there, especially, you know, just watching all those oak trees go down, because you know.
That was really sad. I
mean, I'm both part Native American Irish, and the oak trees are sacred in our traditions, you know. So to see that